welcome to another Gamecast review. I am Snowy, otherwise known as Count Fracula. I've taken over the review team, bringing you this review of Holy Potatoes What the Hell. I've infiltrated almost all the shows on Gamecast now. Soon, I will own the whole joint. The gameplay of Holy Potatoes centres around cooking a variety of potato-themed dishes for various gods that you encounter and accumulate throughout the game. There's an overall time limit to each round, and a sub-time limit for dishes and sets of dishes that you are asked to cook. Some of these dishes need to be researched before you can cook them, something you need to keep on top of if you want to keep your god's favour and not get caught out. Favour is one of the currencies in the game, and it's used to upgrade the machines you use to process sinners into ingredients. The better the cookers you use, the longer it will last before breaking down, and the higher the chance of producing higher quality ingredients. On that front, there is a large reliance on RNG in almost every process, from selecting cooking ingredients to the overall quality of the meals. Sinners have 4 stats with random values between 1 and 100. These stats are used to denote the likelihood of a higher quality ingredient from each of the 4 main cooking processes. More cooking processes are added later, but not subject to stats. The quality levels vary between OK, good and excellent. The quality of these ingredients then affects the likelihood of a higher quality meal rated on a scale of A to F, while the final meal can be increased in quality through extra consumables bought between rounds. This level of RNG can be a bit frustrating at times, as I never felt very in control of the final quality of each dish, especially as there is no way to select what quality of each ingredient goes into the dish. It appears to be selected at random. The only thing to do with low level or inadequate dishes is to turn them into a drink used to keep the gods happy for a short while. The difficulty of the game is deceptively easy at the start and ramps up through the levels. Perhaps a little too much. I found myself frequently running low on ingredients and having very little that I could do to stock up. While there is a prep time at the beginning of each level, this time is far too short and only allows the processing of 2 to 3 sets of ingredients, and only then if you're not fussy about the quality of 1 or 2 of them. I found myself in a loop of making ingredients and having those ingredients making subpar food due to the RNG, rendering the time I used to make those ingredients completely wasted and leaving me frustrated. The premise of the game is that you're an anthropomorphic potato who has recently died and entered the potato version of hell. Instead of going through a series of potato-based torture like other sinners, you are hired as a chef to the nefarious and cadaverous gods of the underworld, cooking said sinners into tasty meals. Alongside this is an underlying personal story involving the player character and a couple of other side characters who are also chefs in the kitchen. This revolves around regaining the memories of your life and the possibly nefarious intentions of the head chef. Incidentally, all the chefs outside of the 3 protagonists are potato-based puns on famous chefs, and all the gods are potato-based puns on various mythological gods. The story is told entirely through visual novel style scenes between each section of the game. It's a little ham-handed in its execution, but I also can't think of how else they would have implemented such a story into the gameplay. The game's art style is a little bit disconcerting. The characters look like they were designed with a low-budget webcomic style in mind, but were then inserted into 3D models. It looks a little bit off, and the result is mixed to say the least, and the rest of the UX and other assets do little to improve the overall aesthetic issues. The music in the game is fine. I can see why some people would like it, but I turned it off halfway through to listen to my own music whilst playing, leaving the other sound effects on, which were functional and inoffensive, and in some cases quite useful. There's no voice acting in the game. During the visual novel's story sections, each piece of dialogue is accompanied with a short, wordless garble, and in gameplay tutorials, just straight text boxes with no sound attached. The game performs well with no particular issues, frame rate whilst playing, but given the type of game that this is neither a particularly huge difficulty nor a huge demand. Despite the qualms I've mentioned, I don't find the game to have no merit at all. The story sections have their own sense of humour, which lands fairly frequently, and the actual gameplay, while frustrating at times, is a good idea in theory. However, I will say I found myself struggling to play the game for more than 20 minutes at a time, finding myself getting either bored or annoyed and turning the game off. This may reflect my personal style of playing a game, where I find myself dipping in and out, but I also never found myself eagerly awaiting to go back to it as I do with other games. With all this in mind, I'm giving Holy Potatoes a wait for sale. While some of the ideas are good and the humour is not too bad, some poor choices in mechanics leave me very cautious to recommend the game, especially at full price. I hope you enjoyed this review. I have been Count Fracula. Make sure to stay tuned to Gamecast for more news, reviews, let's plays and podcasts, and I will see you soon back on the news.